Well, over the last few days, a new article out of the Science Journal, which is the most preeminent science journal in the United States, came out with a publication stating that the butterfly populations in North America have declined by over 22% since the year 2000. That's like over 1% decline every single year, mainly due to three factors being increased use of insecticides, habitat loss, irregular weather patterns. All three of those have combined to create a less hospitable area for butterflies in North America. So I wanted to make a video about what we can actually do in order to help the butterfly populations start to grow back a little bit, as well as all of our other pollinators. Helping the butterflies is going to help the bees, it's going to help the birds, it's going to help them all with a few simple ideas. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So the first thing that we need to note is that not all pollinators, not all butterflies are the same. There's two different real categories of pollinators. Ones that are generalists, which will basically consume the pollen and nectar from any pollen nectar-rich flower. Others are specialists, which they need either the nectar from a specific plant or a few different kinds of plants, or they might be a specialist in the sense that they have specific host plants where they will only lay their larvae. And the best example of that would be the monarch butterflies, which many of us know the host plant for the monarchs are plants from the genus Asclepius. For some reason, they only will lay their larvae on the Asclepius plants, and the caterpillars of monarchs will only eat the foliage of those Asclepius plants. And to take it a step further, we also need to recognize that not all pollen or nectar is created the same. We need to understand that the pollen and nectar from many plants from around the world, when planted in our gardens here in North America, might not create pollen and nectar that is actually accessible or available to be used by our local pollinators. And that is a really important thing to note. And for that reason, one of the very best things that we can do is to plant plants that are native to our regions. Because plants that are native to our regions have coexisted. They've evolved alongside our local pollinators, which are who we're trying to protect and help thrive. And over the course of hundreds, thousands of years, they've co-evolved together to create that pollen and nectar, which is more widely available, more easily accessible, digestible, whatever you want to call it, for our local pollinators. So by growing native plants, we are doing the absolute best to help those pollinators. Yes, by planting plants that are pollen nectar rich from around the world it's going to have a positive impact, but not pound for pound as effective as planting our native plants. Now, when we're thinking about planting native plants for our pollinators, yes, we need to think about those generalists, and yes, we need to do a little bit of research if we're trying to help specific specialist pollinators like the monarch butterflies. A couple other examples would be the tiger swallowtail butterflies, which need tulip trees or specific cherry trees. The black swallowtails, they need parsley, dill, fennel, Queen's Anne's lace, or carrots. So getting back to planting natives, there's tons of options out there. The best thing that you can do wherever you might be living, I live here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. You want to look for your local extension office website to see if they have any resources on pollinator-friendly native plants. I know here in Pennsylvania we have the Penn State Extension, so I will use their information. I'll also use New Jersey's information, Delaware's information, all from my general area. A lot of the native plant communities, they grow in and amongst these different states, and it's going to be the same for you if you live in Montana or Washington State. You're going to have some local resources that will give you good ideas on plants to plant for your areas. We can grow what are called the straight species of native plants, and those would be the wild versions, the original versions of these plants. Echinacea purpurea, the native wild coneflower. And those will generally produce the most pollen and nectar for our pollinators. But they're not always super garden worthy, so to speak. So over the last couple of decades, there's been a big push to create what are called native vars. Those would be native varieties that are, more garden worthy. So there's tons of different specific cultivars of native plants, of echinacea, for instance, or Hydrangea arborescens. A wonderful example would be Hydrangea arborescens Annabelle. These are naturally occurring varieties of native plants that have been selected by nurserymen for specific traits. In particular with Annabelle, it has been selected for its extremely large flowers. And they're absolutely going to be wonderfully helpful to our pollinators. Now, when we start to think about what kinds of native plants, we absolutely want to include herbaceous perennials, but we also want to include shrubs and trees as well. We don't always think about shrubs and trees as having lots of flowers and lots of nectar, but they do in certain circumstances, in many circumstances, and in fact, some specialist pollinators are specialists to trees or shrubs. Now, when we think about growing these plants in our gardens, there's a couple ideas we want to include in our gardens. Number one, we want to create like mini masses. If you're living in a suburban home, if you have like a small garden, you don't want to just plant one plant, but maybe you don't have space to plant 50 plants, maybe 5. And you want to cluster them together because pollinators, they need to have a lot of visual. They need a lot of optics. They need to see large masses of colors in order to attract them to your garden to get the pollen from those plants. It's a hard balance because you want to include as much variety as possible because, like I was saying, there's lots of different pollinators that are going to access pollen and nectar in different fashions. So you want to have a lot of different flower shapes, flower colors, and also plants that bloom at different times: spring, summer, autumn, winter if you can. And having having this in our mind, we start to create that little matrix of what kinds of plants we should be thinking about including in our garden. Now, of course, because I grow plants in the Mid-Atlantic, some suggestions for herbaceous perennials in my area would of course be Asclepias, Liatris, Monarda, plants of the Asteraceae family, things like our Echinacea and Rudbeckia, other asters. Those are, some of the most heavy hitters that we can add to our garden. So it's essential that we include a variety of those. And then in terms of shrubs and trees, our native spicebush, native dogwoods, serviceberries, salix or willows. Those are some wonderful suggestions, and you'll be able to find a lot of those pretty easily at local garden centers. I also have some on my plant shop, plantvibrations.com. If you are looking for some plants, go check the website out. You can find a link to in the description below. And a couple last points of interest. We want to obviously minimize the use of insecticides and herbicides as much as possible. We also want to do as minimal cleanup as possible. Just do that bare minimum. Wait and do that spring cleanup till your days are consistently in the 50s. Once, that's going to allow for all of our pollinators that are hibernating to maintain their habitat. And then doing the minimal cleanup through the summer and fall is also going to help retain those habitats for them. And that's pretty much it. That's what we have within our powers to do. A lot of you guys I know are probably already employing a lot of these ideas and know a lot about them, probably know more than I do. And if you do, leave comments. We are a growing and thriving plant community here on Plant Vibrations. Please don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Anyways, thanks for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I'll catch you guys later. Ciao.